All right, everybody. So let's go to your web browser. We need to go to scratch.mit.edu. All right, you might need to log into your email to verify the account. But awesome. All right, so let's go to Scratch. Let's go to the main title page. Let's go to Tips, and it's going to say start making projects in Scratch by trying the online tutorial or downloading the PDF guide. We're going to do the online tutorial together. So go to Tips and go to Online Tutorial. So, Scratch is an online programming environment. You just got done Code Academy, and you've done all that awesome stuff with like colon, backslash, blah, 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 function, blah, 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 array, blah, 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 all that fun stuff, right? And you probably hated me for it. And that's okay, right? But what Scratch does is it puts all of those functions and those libraries together in nice, easy blocks. So this was originally designed to try to get kids around 6 to 12 years old to start coding. And it worked. So this type of graphic user environment for coding is very common in stuff like Max MSP, Jitter, and Pure Data. So those are like the three main ones that we use in music. And with that, we can do all sorts of really fun stuff. So if you ever watch like the DJ shows and they have lights and stuff going all over the place, they program those shows with Max MSP. Scratch is the precursor to that. So if you're interested in taking that a little bit further, Synthesis 1 and Synthesis 2, those classes start getting into Max programming. Question? MAX or MACS? We're going to go through the tutorial together, and then I'm going to let you guys go on your own to start doing some really fun stuff. So, all right, so getting started with Scratch. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start moving. Okay, so if we click on this, we notice we have Scratch the Cat over here on the left-hand side, right? On the right-hand side, this is where we're going to be doing most of our programming, just like we did in Loop Labs. In the middle, these are our libraries that we can call up, okay? Motion, looks, sound, pen, data, events, controls, sensing, operators, and more blocks, okay? These are the libraries that you learned about in Code Academy. You call up a library to do specific functions. This gives you the libraries right here, and then you can drag the blocks, drag the functions in to do a very specific thing. So, anybody here play video games? Mario? Man, you know of Mario. Mario is what we call a sprite. Okay, a sprite is a pixelation or an avatar that the gamer or that the user can use to interact with the virtual environment. Okay, that's exactly what a sprite is. Scratch right here is a sprite. Okay, this is your representation within the video game. Okay, right now the sprite is just hanging out Matrix style in a white background doing absolutely nothing. We can see sprite right here, and then we have a backdrop. The backdrop is just this blank area, okay? So sprite goes inside a backdrop. The backdrop is the online virtual world. So what we're going to do right now is we want to get sprite moving in that virtual world. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this move 10 steps block, and you guys can follow along with me. Move 10 steps. We're going to drag it into that gray area, and then we're going to double click it. And double click it a few times and see what happens. See where it says 10? If we change that number to say 50, Scratch takes bigger steps. If we change that to be a negative 50, Scratch moves to the left. So negative number makes him move to the left. Positive number makes him move to the right. So now we're going to add a sound with that, okay? So we'll keep that negative 50 there for now. And we're going to do add a sound. So let's go on the right-hand side over here. Let's add a sound. Now every time, we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to go to the sounds library, that purple area. And every time that cat moves, we will play a meow sound. So now we can add a sound to it. So basically what happens is if we put that block underneath the move block, you can see how it kind of like, it kind of fits together like Legos, right? We can either put it on top, which means that the meow sound will happen first and then the move will happen, or we can put the meow sound underneath, which means the move happens, then it plays a sound, okay? It's a very specific type of movement, okay? Or a very specific way that we have to put things together for this, okay? Order of operations, super duper important, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to have him start a dance. So if we go on the right-hand side over here, we click that, let's have him start a dance. We're going to put in 2 movement blocks, one to the right, one to the left. Every time he moves to the right, I want him to play a drum sound, drum number 1 for 0.25 beats. Every time he moves to the left, I want him to play a meow sound. Okay, so he's going to move 10 steps to the right, play a snare sound, move 50 steps to the left, play a meow sound. We can change that to be -20, and it's a little less aggressive on the move. All the meows. Okay, so we're going to hit next on this getting started with Scratch thing. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a repeat to this. Okay, so we can then put an if-then function type of thing into this system. So instead of doing if-thens, we're going to do a repeat. So we're going to go over to control, which is right up here. See control? We're going to click on control, and we're going to make this repeat 5 times. So we're going to get this little clamp, and we're going to put it around that piece of code, and we're going to change that repeat number to 5. Then when we double click it, the function should repeat 5 times and then stop. Okay, so that is a way to do a repeat. Now, if for some reason you want to get rid of some of this code, okay, what you can do is, one, you can take it out of the repeat and you can put it back in, okay? The way that this works, everybody pay attention, the way that this works is the topmost block that you grabs everything underneath it, okay? If you grab something in the middle, it's going to grab everything underneath it, okay? Make sense? If you want to get rid of something, you just drag it back into the middle. If you want to put it back, you got to go and grab it again. Cool? Make sense? Okay. So we have this little repeat going on. Now we have Scratch the cat doing his dance. If for some reason you lose Scratch, okay, we can always do a go to mouse pointer, and Scratch will go and try to aim towards where that mouse pointer is. Okay, we can't put it in the middle. Or we can have him go to a very specific spot, go to X, Y. This whole entire backdrop is an XY coordinate. So if you look on the bottom right-hand side over here, see where it says XY coordinates? If you make him go to 0, 0, he should go straight into the middle of the place. Make sense? Meow, 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 meow. Okay, now we're going to have Max say something. So, if we go to the next one, here's what's going to happen. He's going to say, "Watch me dance," and then we're going to have him do all this repeating stuff. So, over in looks, which is up here, if we go to looks, we can have 2 different types of interactions. We can either have him say hello for 2 seconds. We can change that number to be 5 seconds, 10 seconds, however long we want to. We can also change what's in this box. Okay, so we're going to put that say hello for 2 seconds up there, and we're going to change hello to watch me dance. Cool? If we click that, he now says, "Watch me dance," and does his little dance. Cool? Now, there's also a bubble under there, or excuse me, a block under there that just says, "Say hello." Everybody look up here to the left. Okay, we have say hello for a certain amount of time. Then we just have a say hello button, okay? This isn't immediate. It'll flash and then go away. That really doesn't lead much to like reading. So usually we just use the say hello for 2 seconds. We can also have a think bubble instead. So we'll have them think, for 2 seconds. So we'll say, watch me dance. And then it'll go through the dance. And then it should have a thought bubble that says, Okay? We can also put that up top. We can put that anywhere in the function. So let's make this little function happen, okay? Watch me dance, do the dance, then think something. Okay? So right now what we've been doing is we've just been starting this program by double clicking, but we can also have this whole entire thing start by using one button, okay? This would be like clicking the start button on your controller. So we're going to go to events, and where it says when this green flag is clicked, then we're going to start all of this function, okay? So instead of double clicking it, now what we're going to do is we're going to work up here where it's that green flag is and that stop sign. If for some reason you get into an infinity loop, which sometimes happens, okay? For some reason I put in a forever loop and I have him turn 15 degrees and he doesn't stop. There's no way to stop this. Okay? The only way to stop this is to hit the stop button. Cool? So that's usually the way we want to operate programs, is we just want to have one button to control most of the functions, okay? That is going to be that green flag right here. So when the green flag is clicked, we put that on top of everything. That means when we click the green flag, he's going to do his dance. Let's change colors of Mr. Scratch. So we're going to go back to looks. Okay? And it's going to say change color effect by 25. If I double click that right here, it changes the color of Scratch. Okay? If I add that into the function, now every time the meow sound plays, it'll change the color and then it'll go around again. Watch me dance. All right, so now let's make this interactive, so to speak. Instead of having the green flag change the color, what we're going to do is we're going to have that forever loop going on. We're going to go to events. When the space bar is pressed, it'll change color, okay? So first we'll get that cat moving, and then we can hit the space bar whenever we want, and it'll change colors at that point, okay? This is how you make your programs interactive, okay? If you were thinking about a regular console game, ABXY or AB triangle, square, whatever it is, right? Those would be very specific keys on a keyboard. If you're a console or a PC gamer, right? A, S, D, W, those are your up, down, left, and right. So that could be the same exact thing. When the A is pressed, or any key on here, it can do a very specific function, okay? So we're going to just stick with the space key. When the space key is pressed, so let's now choose a backdrop. This is where it gets really fun, okay? It's kind of cool to have Sprite be in the Matrix and, or Scratch in the Matrix and just do his thing. But now let's actually add a cool backdrop. So what we're going to go is over here on the left-hand side where it says New Backdrop. There's a few different options. It says Choose Backdrop from Library. Then it says Paint New Backdrop, Upload a Backdrop from File, or New Backdrop from Camera, which is kind of fun. We don't have cameras on here, but you could take a picture and then upload your face to be a backdrop, which is always weird. Okay, but let's choose one from the library right now. So let's click on this library one and choose whatever you want. All right, so I'm gonna put him in the Grand Canyon. I'm gonna select the Grand Canyon, hit OK. Now Scratch is in the Grand Canyon. It also makes this tab open up too, where it says Scripts, Backdrops, Sounds. Everybody see this over here? Okay. That means that we can alter the backdrop in some sort of way, but we're not going to do that right now. So click on Scripts, and that gets you back to where we were, almost. What happened to all our code? It's not gone. We can put code on the sprite, or we can put code on the backdrop as well. So we can have the backdrop change colors. We can have the backdrop do a bunch of weird, crazy things versus the sprite, okay? Usually we program within the sprites. So we're going to click on Scratch the Cat again, and then we're going to see all of our programming coming back, okay? So this is really cool. This is a cool thing. We can program for the backdrops. We can also program for the sprites. So if we want to have the sprite interact with the backdrop, change the backdrop, make the backdrop be a more interactive environment, we can do that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a new sprite. We're going to give Sprite, or we're going to give me Scratch. We're going to give Scratch a friend, okay? So where it says Sprite over here, and it says New Sprite, if we look on the right-hand side, it says Choose Sprite from Library. We can then paint a new sprite. We can then upload a sprite from a file, or we can take a picture again. So we're going to choose Sprite from Library. And the one I want to choose right now is, there's a sprite on here called Pico. There it is. Pico's over here. It's way down near the pianos. Okay. So let's choose Pico and hit OK. And now we have a friend for Scratch, which is kind of cool. Okay. But as we notice now, there's another spot for us to add more script, okay? So not only do we have the option to add script to the cat, we also have the option to add script to Pico, and we also can add script to the backdrop, okay? Cool, so we added a new sprite by going that way. So let's make this next sprite right here do a little bit more interaction. We can actually make the costumes change. So if we click on Pico, and we click on Costumes, which is up here in between scripts and sounds, we notice that there are 4 different looks for Pico, okay? There's a happy Pico, there's a super happy Pico, there's a wicked excited Pico, and then there's an angry Pico. Okay? So we can actually change the costume in time. So if we go to Looks, it's going to say switch to costume A, B, C, or D, or we can just switch to next costume. That's what we're going to put in here for Pico. Okay, let's make Pico switch to the next costume. So every time we double click it, the Pico costume switches. If we put that in a forever loop, and we're going to put a wait 1 second in afterwards, every second Pico is going to change costume. Okay, it's right next to control. So if you go into control, you can put that forever loop in, and you can put a wait 1 second, which basically just puts a hold on the script to wait 1 second before going into the repeat again. Cool. But again, we need to make this as a stop. Let's take sprite number 1 and sprite number 2, and let's add a forever loop, a wait 1 second, and a switch to next costume on both of them. Okay, and we're going to enact that when we hit the space bar. So we need to put that forever loop, the wait 1 second, the next costume. So we need to put that space bar in both things. So we got to go to events, space bar, and then control, forever loop, wait 1 second, then looks, next costume. So now when we hit the space bar, come on. they both change costumes. You got it? Okay, we need to hit the stop sign to stop this and go. Cool? So one event now can control 2 sprites. This is where it becomes really powerful. So when you start adding your makey, which in the end your makey is just a glorified keyboard, right? It's basically all the keyboard just broken out so we can put different buttons and stuff on it. When we add the makey in, we can now have a really unique controller controlling your video game. Last thing we're going to talk about is sharing your project on here. When you are done with this, you will rename it. So we'll rename this in-class whatever. In-class intro. And then you're going to go to File, Save Now. Okay? Once you do File, Save Now, your project is now saved in your folder. And you're saying, where is my folder? Your folder is up here. Okay? See where it says your name and then that little folder? That's where all of your projects live. Cool? When you go to submit this in Canvas, you need to share it. In order to share it, you have to hit this share button on the right-hand side. Now, if you did not verify your account by looking at your email, you will not have the share button. So you need to make sure you go into your email that you just put in for this Scratch account and verify Scratch. Now, the cool thing about Scratch is if you share a project, anybody can see inside it. So it's an open source system. So you can go into somebody else's project and see what they did. You can even use some of their code. Okay, so when you get to a point you're like, oh man, I want to make Scratch the Cat bounce off the side of the walls and catch a ball. And you're like, I don't know how to do this. Well, you can look at some other people's projects and you can look at some other ways that other people did it. And then you can try to implement that with your changes. That's fair game. What's not fair game is if Brad and Lucy share the same exact project together, same exact code to do the same exact thing. Okay? That's not fair game. That's cheating. So know the difference? Okay? You can look at somebody else's code and then adapt it for your own, but you can't work on the same project together. So if you want to get rid of a sprite, all you need to do is hold the control button on your keyboard and click on the sprite, and then there's a duplicate or delete. You can just delete them right on there.